Did you know over 60% of first-time clients do not return for a second visit? That is so painful, but it doesn't have to be that way. That's where Maya comes in. Maya is the ultimate marketing software for the beauty and wellness industry. We have a proprietary funnel utilizing special algorithms to help connect the right consumers with the right providers at your business. This means that Maya helps you get higher spending clients you love to work with who stay the long haul. If you want to increase your revenue, increase your client count, increase your average ticket, and increase your new client retention, then you need Maya. Go to joinmaya.com to set up your own personal virtual tour and see why over 500,000 consumers have trusted Maya and the businesses we work with to find their perfect beauty and wellness pro. We promise you will love Maya.
Thank you for joining me. This is Katie Whitledge with the Beyond the Technique podcast. Today, you can get AI at your salon without having to do it yourself. Well, who the heck is going to do it for you? Well, I have industry expert. We have Amit Kalarakal here, who is the founder of GLAMMATIC. You may know that name. If you don't, today is a special treat. Amit is the co-founder and CEO of GLAMMATIC.com, a salon marketing platform that has helped thousands of small business owners grow their online presence. Prior to GLAMMATIC, he co-founded a UX research firm that partnered with companies like Airbnb, Venmo, and Google, and was acquired by Harvard in 2018. He's a Forbes 30 under 30 honoree and was recognized for leveraging AI to help thousands of restaurants stay afloat during COVID-19. And now he's bringing that same innovation to the beauty industry. With a background in web development, marketing, AI, software engineering, and UX, he is passionate about helping small businesses thrive in a digital age and yet brings the human to human aspect to everything. If you know him, you know what I mean. So without further ado, help me welcome Amit. Welcome to Beyond the Technique.
Thank you so much for having me, Katie. It is an honor. It's a pleasure to be spending a little more time with you and to be able to share what both of us can contribute to this ecosystem together. So thanks.
This is long overdue. We should have done, but here we are, and there's no time like now, especially with AI. So I feel like actually the timing's perfect. I want to go back though for you because who the heck goes from your kind of background, which I think is incredible, to then like, oh, beauty industry. Tell me, where did your heart get led to this industry?
100%. Yeah, no, it was really, really unexpected path, without a doubt. I didn't know anything about this industry growing up. Not until a few years ago had I realized what this was about. And I did grow up knowing about small businesses. I grew up working in a family friend restaurant, and I became really passionate about helping restaurant owners support their community and saw firsthand, what marketing could do for them. It's an uncle who was running a restaurant in our local town in Georgia where I grew up. And I mean, he ran that business for 20 years, working 7 days a week, 12-hour days, doing the same thing over and over again, because that's what he knew how to do. And I just remember, the impact when we started setting up marketing for that restaurant, how that really started to finally transform things in the business. And it was existential. We had to do it, but seeing the impact is what really led me to realize if only people knew what was possible. And even then, the more I dug into that and shared what was possible, it wasn't just knowing, it was also the time and the energy to figure out how to actually implement these new solutions, because local small business service provider and owner is so busy working in the business and dealing with everything that has to be dealt with in an in-person business. We're a software company. We do not have to deal with the same amount of operational hurdles that exist. And so so it wasn't just knowledge, it was time, it was energy, it was learning completely new skill set. And so that's what kind of led us down the path to figure out how we can use software to support restaurants. And It just so happened that we launched what we were building, and the claim to fame at the time was we could build a website in a minute using our software. And so we launched what we did at the beginning of COVID, and tons of restaurants. It became essential for restaurants to have an online presence to do online ordering. So we just started helping as many restaurants as we could. And anyways, fast forward, we did that for years. At a certain point, we finally were able to take a step back, and we had built some amazing technology. We had built an awesome team, and restaurants were in an okay spot after a few years of COVID because they had really been accelerated towards online in a way that the beauty industry just didn't quite, because it was a binary. It's an in-person service, and you're either doing it in person or you're not. There's not really this clear bridge of doing online ordering or food deliveries, in this industry. So you can't get a virtual haircut, right? And so we just had friends of our restaurant customers who were in the salon space and in the beauty industry, and more we were getting requests and questions. Hey, can you also support me? Can you also help my sister-in-law or my friend, or I have another business that's in this industry. And so we just started poking around and digging into it. I started going to a lot of industry events and just meeting people and realizing, one, there is a lot of overlap between these industries, and a lot of the same stuff we had built up could absolutely apply here. Not only that, it was a space we felt like we could have an even bigger impact because there weren't quite as many solutions out there already. And then, yeah, the more time I spent with people like you who have spent a lot of time in this space, the more I fell in love with just the culture. And I mean, there's so much to love about it. I honestly wasn't expecting the people to be this incredible, but even just my own personal kind of journey, it's mapped to the differences, I'd say, from what I've experienced in the restaurant industry to the beauty industry. And I really, unexpectedly feel like I found my people. So yeah, that's kind of been the journey. Now it's all we do. We're not even, supporting new restaurants. We're entirely focused on this space. But yeah, really unexpected journey.
Well, it does give me goosebumps when you say you feel like you found your people, because that's something you can't put a price tag on. So I love that. And you brought up just there's a lot of restaurants in the world. There's a lot of salons in the world. There's also in the salon world a lot more competition, I would suspect, for the niche services that you provide. But yet you had a different vision. So when you look at what is Glammatic do differently? What sets you apart? Why come into the industry when there is a lot of competition? I know it's because you saw that there was this missing piece to the puzzle. What was that for you?
Yeah, great question. It's true. There are a lot of agencies in particular. There's a lot of local agencies that are currently providing services to salons around the items that we focus on, which is great. Right? I think compared to the restaurant industry, where it's still probably 40-50% of restaurants that just don't even know where to start and have no kind of beginning. At least at this point now in this space, people recognize the importance of having an online presence, of having a website, of having an Instagram. It's like 100% of this audience is on Instagram, and a really, really high percentage has some sort of website as well, which is great. And Google Business, right? There's an understanding of how this stuff works, why it's meaningful. The issue is that to get really high quality results, there is a lot of work that needs to be done. And that work, unless it's software enabled, it's automated, and that's the transition over to AI, it can get really expensive. And so I think the realization for us is that what we're really good at is automating things. We're really good at, building software that can handle things automatically, and leveraging a lot of the latest and greatest in technology. And since we could build that ourselves, we could keep the costs really low for a lot more value. The other thing that we see a lot is, because there's a lot of technical work here for things like SEO, a lot of companies can hide behind technical jargon and not necessarily deliver on results. And I mean, this firsthand, right? Like you guys do such incredible work around SEO and just driving real meaningful results to salons. And a lot of people, can hide behind the language without actually delivering. And so we just saw a big gap there that we could bring the software component to automate a lot of this stuff and keep people on the cutting edge, and doing that ourselves to keep costs low.
For owners listening, the number one solution that you provide, kind of this foundation for them, is their company website. So when you start working with owners, where do you begin that conversation? Do you audit what they already have going on? And when you do, what's do you notice are like those three things? Like, oh, all of you, all the things I notice, here's what most aren't getting, optimizing or getting right to the best of their
Yes.
ability.
Yes. Yeah, no, you're spot on. For the website, the first thing we do is we audit their existing web presence and we provide feedback. So we'll do this for free for any salon, even if they don't want to switch or work with us. We'll just provide feedback on areas of improvement so that, that salon can go and implement if they want, or of course, it's all stuff that we would do for them. But yeah, I mean, the thing that a lot of people just don't realize is the website doesn't matter if people aren't coming to it. And what matters most is people coming to the website, spending time on it, finding what they're looking for, right? Booking an appointment. And no matter how beautiful or pretty the thing is, the substance really matters too. Like it has to look good. It has to represent the brand, but ultimately it needs to serve the business in terms of driving traffic and converting traffic. And I think a lot of people get caught up in, does this match my brand? And forget about those, there's an algorithm at play. Google is this beast of an algorithm. And because it's an algorithm, you can reverse engineer how can you play into that algorithm's favor. I think, Maya does a great job by keeping people on the website. Time on site is such an important factor for getting people getting the algorithm to know that this is an important site. And so everything we think about is how can we help with the SEO, beyond just matching the brand. So one thing, as an example, Google's scraping all the content on a website and it's trying to match that content with what people are searching for. And so, number one area that we see over and over again that's underutilized is service descriptions, because services are what people are searching for. It's typically services and locations around like beauty conflicts, so salon near me, or it could be balayage right in my area, or any root touch up in this area. And so what we always recommend is let's beef up and add context and content to your services section, because this is what people are searching for. The more content that we can give to Google, the more it's likely to match this website with what people are searching for. So I think this is a perfect example of, often we see, because there's just a minimalist trend in design to just show the service names, but that's a missed opportunity to add a lot more useful content for both users and for Google.
Yeah. I'm curious because Google, Gary Vee stood on stage and asked the audience, how many of you are even using Google now that there's Chat GPT? And it's like, is that a threat to beauty owner businesses to have consumers go to chat for finding them out? Or no, we're kind of safe at this point because of Google Maps. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I think it's going to take a little bit more time for business search specifically to shift over more to LLM based search, than, or like ChatGPT based search. Simply because, yeah, Google Maps is how people are really familiar with looking for specific businesses. They want to see reviews. Whereas like people looking for how-tos or more informational, definitely there's a massive transition that's already happened. I still think it's going that direction. And I think it's also an opportunity for owners, because the information that, ChatGPT or Claude or any of these services are providing around, if someone's to type into ChatGPT, I live here, what's a salon you'd recommend? It's still pulling from a lot of these results that are online. And one of the things that we've started doing is you can submit a specific format of information for a given website to these large language models, or in the format that they're looking for, to make it more likely that that salon is appearing in those searches as well. So I think it's actually a really great opportunity right now to take advantage of that while that transition is happening, and not every salon is doing that.
And the salon, in my opinion, which is where you come in, needs to make sure that the amount of education and the information on their website is more robust. that they would be
Absolutely.
pulled into some of those results with
Absolutely.
brands like ChatGPT. So, this kind of leads into AI because most salons know ChatGPT and are probably using it in certain use case scenarios. So, how do you implement AI into helping salons? What is that special way that you do that without them having to know or handle things themselves?
Yeah, so I guess let's take the example we were just talking about with service descriptions as an, as one way that we can think about how to leverage AI to handle this for the salon. So, and we do this for all content, but technically you could use ChatGPT to say, hey, here are some keywords that it looks like people are searching for. It's publicly available to see what keywords people are searching for before landing on your website. And you can take those and ask ChatGPT to create website content based on those keywords. And then you can go to your website platform and you can add those new descriptions, for service items, for example, or an about page in that have those keywords built in. This is an example of what we've completely automated. So for every given salon that we create a bot, an AI bot that is constantly looking at what keywords are people searching for in that salon's locality, based on the services that that salon provides. And then based on that, we're automatically generating content for that salon and automatically adding it to the website and telling Google, hey, we've just updated this website using this content, time to rescrape it and start matching this for what people are searching for. So all of that is fully automated. Same thing with Google reviews. We can automatically reply to those reviews, reply to Instagram DMs. There's so many use cases when it comes to content in particular that works really well with AI.
And this is all your technology, or do you utilize plugins like ManyChat? Or no, this is yours.
It's all stuff that we've been building ourselves,
Very cool.
and it's specifically for salons.
Yeah. Okay. I'm getting very excited about this. With salons that have had like a before and after story with Glammatic, what are some success stories that you could share with us? Like, hey, this salon has done seven figures in business, but there was these gaps, and then here's how we helped them.
Yeah, I mean, in almost every case, there's some low-hanging fruit. Either there's low-hanging fruit on, what they're not optimizing for search, or they're paying way too much for what they should be getting or what they're getting. And on average, salons that signed up with us in 2024 saw a double in Q1. By Q1 of this year, have seen a double in website traffic. And of course that translates all the
Yeah.
way through to appointment bookings and these are premium salons that were already doing well online, but this has allowed for a pretty significant step function improvement. And a lot of that is actually before we've been integrating some of the newest stuff around AI. I mean, everything we do with AI is stuff we were kind of semi-automating beforehand. We see that it's working, and now let's fully automate it or take it to the next level. And so I think that stat has been really, really huge. And yeah, within 6 months, we're seeing a pretty significant jump, generally over 10% in new customer appointments. So there's definitely ROI, and it's a flat subscription model on our end. We don't charge a setup fee. And so getting people onto the platform to try it out is hopefully pretty risk-free. And pretty quickly they'll start to see some results.
Are there any types of salons in our industry or barbershops, med spas, anything like that, that like, hey, you wouldn't be the right fit if dot dot dot. Is that a thing for you?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think, with team-based salons is usually where we work best with, simply because we're driving, I mean, our whole purpose is to drive new business, and that business gets distributed through as many service providers as possible. Plus, when we have team, a lot of the opportunity on these websites is to flesh out team-based information and service-based information. So I think larger salons that just have more information, but they're not utilizing that information effectively is probably who we work best for and are most likely to see pretty substantial improvements. But no, like we'll work with anyone in the industry, but I think that's kind of where we tend to prioritize.
What is a myth about AI that salon owners need to let go, or maybe a fear that they need to let go in order to just embrace what the future holds?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I think, people are very rightfully so protective of their tone and their voice and the brand that they have. And yeah, again, rightfully so, right? That is what we are, is our brand and the reputation we give off online. And I think there's a lot of fear of, if I use AI, is it going to properly represent who I am? And the reality is sometimes it won't be perfect. I mean, almost always up front, it's not going to be perfect. These models always work best with more prompting and more time to get a really good feel for the business. And but I'd say that's pretty similar to any relationship in general. Is over time, the more time you spend with somebody, the better you can understand. And that's how we operate as well. Is, I don't know, in a software environment, it's so iterative. Like, you really expect the first thing to come out is really not the right thing. And I think this is an industry with a lot of people who are perfectionists, because the job is to make people look and feel incredible. You can't really mess up and then keep making it better. But that mindset should be different when you're thinking about something like your online presence, because you need to get stuff out there. You need to see if it's working, and you can iterate. There isn't really a binary of it's done or it's not done. It's a living and breathing thing. So I think there's this sort of myth around it needs to be perfect out of the gate, and if it doesn't work, it's just not going to work. I think what's more useful is to try it and then keep tweaking over time, and over time, the benefits just get better and better. It really just specific example is, we have an AI chatbot, for example, that lives on these sites, and we build a knowledge base for a given salon, and out of the gate, the only information we have available is what's on the website, what's in the booking platform, right? Whatever other information we get, that's not sufficient to tell the full picture of who this salon is. But it's a really good starting point. And only once we start putting it in the wild, and the owner says, "Oh, that's not how I would have responded. Here's how I would have responded." All right, now we can learn and improve that. And in the future, it's going to be so much better. So I think just starting without perfect is probably the biggest thing.
I'm gonna just tell salon owners, I want to translate this for you because I love you. It's like putting your level one on the floor and not judging the haircut when the guest goes to pay because they're actually paying. And you know what I mean? So it's like level one chat GPT or your chatting functionality, and it'll continue to get master level of communication as time goes on. So I like that. And it's funny, I keep bringing up ChatGPT because I know it's the most used. And now my leadership team will say somebody applied for a position, and I can tell that this was all written by ChatGPT. Like, we can start to sense that. So I really appreciate you saying, like, the number one fear is that they won't have their brand voice really being told, but that's like going to be an ongoing collaborative effort, which I really appreciate. And also the prompts. It's funny how it's like, I can't you remember the way I like things to be told to me, chat? I treat Chat GPT like a dude. Like, you're my guy. You should know me well enough by now. Spit it out to me the way I like. I don't like all this other fluff. So that is kind of funny how we're just adapting to it, and it's adapting to us, and it's all about the iterations. So I appreciate that so much.
Mm. Yeah, there's
Is
no
there
question
anything
it is a
else
long way
about
to go.
AI that you feel is so exciting that we haven't even begun to understand how it can help us?
Yeah, I mean, we're mostly using text-based generation still, and the image generation or video generation are still really untapped spaces, which I think will be pretty transformative for this industry that is aesthetic and visual based. The text is really important for the Google search algorithm, and people are still typing to queries to figure out what answers they or to get answers to their questions. But more and more, I think that'll start to transition more to voice based. And I also think the content itself, as we can produce better quality images and videos, it's going to make things like content creation on social way easier. It's going to make things like showcasing your imagery on your website way more specific and high quality and predictable. So I think that's going to be another massive improvement. We've started to see some of those examples of where image generation can go come out, and it's exciting. Like, that was that probably a month ago. There's the whole Studio Ghibli example of imagery that was coming out. And it was a huge thing, and we're just at the beginning there. So I'm very excited about that. Voice in general is going to be it's going to be ubiquitous, I think, where people calling the salon either off hours or just as a first pass, even when it's open, it's going to be AI that's handling that that first level support and orientation to save a lot of time and headache at the front desk level. I think those are probably two of the big trends that we're
Yeah.
going to see play out.
Well, I know there's many owners listening who are fired up about, I want to talk to Glammatic. Where should they go? How do they begin a conversation with you?
Yeah, I mean, we're on Instagram at GLAMMATIC Pro. We're also, you can go to glammatic.com and reach out that way. Yeah, we love to talk. We'll love to get on a call. And I mentioned this earlier, but we are happy to do just a free audit of what somebody's doing today and just provide some feedback. We generally just want to see this industry succeed, and there's so much to gain for everyone. We're starting to see the consumer trends pick back up in this industry. Demand is finally starting to climb a little bit, and so there is a lot for everyone to get. They just need to have the claws out there to grab it. And I'd love to see every salon take full advantage of that and help out as much as we can for this.
Well, for everybody listening, we have the links in our show notes for Glammatic's website and Instagram. So go and follow and click through, get that audit. It's free advice. What a great place to start. So, Amit, before we're done, do you have any final words of encouragement or just wisdom to share with our listeners today?
Well, I think we were talking about this earlier, but it's just so hard anytime there's a new technology or a new company or a new service to just bring the activation energy to even get into it and say, all right, another change. And it's the life of a business owner. You and I both know this. Everyone listening probably knows this as well. It never ends, right? There's always something new. And I think, it's tough because if you don't adopt the new stuff, everyone else does over time. And yeah, not adapting, not changing is a slow death, which is so scary. And it's really frustrating because you sometimes just want to hang out and hope that you've just done enough. But I think it can also be really exciting. And I think this in particular, this new wave of AI is so exciting because yes, it is a new thing to learn and try, but once we get a good foundation of how this works, it really is going to save a ton of time. And anyone who's been using ChatGPT a little bit more regularly has probably seen this in their personal lives. Once you get a hang of this, this is actually a time saver. And so that little bit of activation energy to just try these things is so worthwhile in the long run. And yeah, we're really excited to just help do more of this for salons. But yeah, I know it's frustrating, but I think this is really one of these big changes that has a lot of kind of benefits, and it's an investment more than anything else.
Yeah, I love that. And I think everybody listening, especially here, I know you and you care deeply about constantly improving and doing the next best thing. So I think owners are going to be really fired up. And I'm just really thankful that you're here to share all of this and just how cutting edge you love to be. That's like one of the things that you value is knowing and seeing what's coming next and being able to apply it. So I really like that about you. And thank you again for being with me today.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you all for joining us here week after week. If you appreciate this podcast, please take a moment to leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening so that more people like yourself will discover Beyond the Technique, where we're here to change the way that you are supported in your business. Until next time, have an awesome day and stay strong.